a very, very good FA Cup final. And Hatchin! What a magnificent goal!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's live All Things Sky Blue show. Myself, Mark Smith. Joining me tonight will be Cameron. Before we get started with tonight's show, just going to get a few housekeeping out of the way. We're sponsored by Plan with Neil, Coventry's financial advisor with planwithneil.com. His phone number is 02475 264 392. And Corrigan Bentley. We're teamed up with the Sports Social Podcast Network. Please like and subscribe to All Things Sky Blue on our social media channels at All Things Sky Blue on X, on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Please like and subscribe. So I'm going to bring Cameron on. Cameron, good evening. How are we doing?
Absolutely splendid, mate. How are you getting on?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Not too bad. Feeling slightly better as you'll find out after what last night's disappointing result. But good news for you as well. You've got a new voluntary role as well.
Yes, that's right. So for those who are interested to know, I have secured a voluntary role with a local non-league football club in Coventry called Coventry Colliery. Last season, they won the Midland Football League Division 3, and they are getting ready to start life in Midland Football League Division 2. I'll be working on the social media side of things, working on match day graphics, trying to promote the club where I can, try and get people to come and watch them. If you want to watch Coventry Colliery, they play at the Hawksmill Sports and Social Club for their home games, and on this Saturday at 2:00, we will be playing Kirby Muxloe in a pre-season friendly at 2:00, and then Tuesday night we have a Coventry derby against Coventry Cotswood in another pre-season encounter. And the big event is the 1st of August, where Coventry Colliery celebrate 100 years as a football club. In the opening day of the Midland Football League Division 2 season, they are at home to Central Ajax. It is free admission, 3:00 kickoff. There's going to be barbecue, there's going to be music, there's going to be an indoor and outside bar. Get yourself down there, let's get a big crowd, and let's show Colliery the support that I feel that they deserve, because it is genuinely a really, really good football club. Footballers who give up their time to play for the Colliery and absolutely bleed the club, and a manager who is just really, really, really down to earth, and assistant manager is down to earth. The staff at Colliery are absolutely fantastic, and if you go down to the Hawksmill Social Club, you will absolutely have a good time.
Excellent stuff. Well, yeah, good message. And what league are they in this season?
They are in the Midland Football League Division 2, so that is the 11th tier of English football. They last season won the Midland Football League Division 3. Colliery are looking to secure another promotion, and should they do that, they would end up being in the same league as Coventry Cotswood. So definitely a club with ambition, a club that's on the up with a lot of excitement in the air. They've not long been in the Midland Football League, because they used to be in the Coventry Alliance, but they got invited into the Midland Football League and have made a quick impression. Already got one promotion, looking for a second, and the ambition isn't going to stop there.
Excellent. Well, congratulations, Cameron, and I wish you well with that, and I hope it goes well for you. Okay, let's look at a different Coventry side. Coventry City, of course, our beloved club. Been a really good, week. A couple of signings. Loum, and I can't pronounce his surname, but he signed, and obviously Aurelia Amenda has signed as well today. It's been announced by the club. So what's your views on the two signings?
I'm going to start with Loum, because that was because obviously that was done on Saturday. It's interesting because he was it was his first season in the Premier League. There was ups and there was downs. Under Scott Parker, he could really get going because just the system at Burnley was so negative, and it didn't get the best out of him. But then when Michael Jackson, not the Michael Jackson you're all thinking of, took over Burnley on an interim basis, his form tended to take a bit of an upturn. His performances were improved. He got himself another goal. Ironically, both his Premier League goals were against Leeds United in the 2 games against Leeds. So I'm already optimistic about those Leeds games just because he seems to love scoring against Leeds. Very raw, very quick, quite strong as well. So definitely different to Sakamoto in that sense. He's a bigger lad, a bit more physical, but on the right hand side, very raw. He already has prior experience in Serie A as well with Salernitana and with Lazio. So he's played a fair bit of top flight football already, and he's still only 22. A bit raw, but the physical attributes are there, and I'm looking forward to us working with him. And in terms of starting position, I do see him starting on the right hand side with maybe Tats as a super sub, but we asked for competition for Sakamoto, so I'm happy. And if he can provide that competition for Sakamoto, then fantastic, because competition is all we want in every position. Because the more competition there is, the more players will push harder to be better.
Yeah, and can he play on the left as well? And can he also play as a striker?
Apparently so. So the element of versatility is definitely a welcome bonus, but I definitely do see him predominantly being utilised on the right hand side.
I mean, I read the comments from Burnley fans on social media. They weren't exactly impressed with him. But I think what I would say is Frank Lampard, I think, has got a pretty good track record with these young players. So I'm kind of believing that he can bring the best out of him. Is that your sort of feeling as well?
Yeah, I agree with that. Again, I think it's hard to read how good or bad he was, because that Burnley side was very disjointed, and unless you were Jadon Anthony and Zion Fleming or Stefe, who really managed to impress in a struggling side, it was hard to make an impression. It's not necessarily the player's fault. It's just Scott Parker. He's always been that manager who has always been able to get parachute championship teams out of the championship, but in the Premier League, he's always been out of his depth. And I think it's always hard to judge players when they're under a manager who just doesn't know how to get the best out of the players at that level, where I think Lampard will be capable of doing that. So I think he is deserving of a second chance in the Premier League. And he's more than young enough. He's still very young. He's still got time to grow. And I think even if Coventry do go straight back down, I just think it's a healthy environment for younger players like him to just grow and develop.
He's only 22 as well, so he's got plenty of time on his side. Do you expect him to start ahead of Sakamoto for the Arsenal game?
Hard to say. I think we need to see them both in pre-season, just get regular minutes. I think as the season progresses, I think he will make that number one spot his own, but at the same time, Sakamoto is going to be determined to keep that number one spot. So I think to begin with, it's going to be touch and go to who starts in terms of that first game, and I do think it's going to depend on certain games. But I think with how physical Arsenal can be, maybe Loum might be the better option for that particular encounter.
Yeah, and maybe Arsenal have a few players rested from the World Cup as well. Fingers crossed, which would be nice. But we'll talk about that later on in a future show. Obviously, the other news today: Aurelien Mendy has signed on a long-term contract. Fee, I think, is around the 15-17 million pound mark, around that sort of figure. What's your thoughts on him? I mean, my personal thoughts: he's played in the Bundesliga at Eintracht Frankfurt, and they finished, I think, third one season. He's played Champions League football. Switzerland World Cup squad. Admittedly, didn't play a lot, but I think he was on the bench all the time. I don't think he even featured, but he's definitely a guy what we need. He's 6'5". He's got a bit of a presence about him, and that's the sort of signing we need to get some competition at the back.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm really looking forward to this one, actually. Very, very young, very talented. He's already got 7 caps to his name. Unfortunately, didn't appear at the World Cup from what I recall. But but at the end of the day, even though he didn't play a minute of a World Cup, he was part of a side that made the quarterfinals and were only knocked out to a very good Argentina side. And not to mention, in that particular game, they did take it to extra time, but they did lose a man due to a red card, and maybe being down to 10 men is what was Switzerland's undoing. But they did really well. They topped their group. They got through the knockout stages. In my opinion, they beat a very, very good Colombia team. I was looking at that Colombia team, and I genuinely think if they played Argentina, they could have been good enough to nick the result. So I think to take them to penalties and then win on penalties, that was a very impressive result against the Colombians. So yeah, I think he'll be full of confidence. He's got Europa League experience, he's got Champions League experience, he's got Bundesliga experience. But I think physically as well, I think we can tell that we are still looking for physical centre halves, and that is what Ural Aminda is. He reads the game really well. He knows where the ball is going. His ability to read the game is one of his biggest strengths. 6'4", I believe. Really tall centre half. At the moment, based on who we currently have, he slots in very nicely next to Bobby Thomas. That is potentially a very decent pairing at Premier League level. But at the same time, I also imagine we might get one or two more centre halves just to bolster the competition. But in terms of Amenda, I'm very excited. Young, got full of potential. Very similar traits to a younger Virgil van Dijk. Well, if he ends up being half as good as Van Dijk was, then we're in for a treat. But the physical attributes are there, and it's just down to us to get the absolute best out of him.
I can imagine that signing is almost like a candidate for that chart we have about Onyeka. City boys on the bender we've got Frank Onyeka, and I guess that'll be the same about Amenda as well, won't it? So I can imagine that'd be that chart in Singer's Corner. So yeah, I think to me it feels like a statement signing for us. It feels like a real statement signing. And you could argue with Loum as well being a statement signing. We've invested £20 million in him. So, and I think we've signed around £45 million on 3 players. So it's fair to say that Doug has really got his checkbook out. But looking at that defence now, we've got plenty of options out at the back. Does that mean that some players will be getting moved on as a result?
Yeah, potentially. It's nothing over what they've done wrong. It's just when you're in the Premier League, the project just moves on so quickly. Case in point with Sunderland. Dennis Serkin had broken through the team at Sunderland. He did really well in their promotion season. Couldn't really get a sniff in the Premier League, and he's just been released with Burnley linked with signing him. It's nothing he's done particularly wrong. It's just when you're in the Premier League, the project moves so fast, and it's very hard to catch up. And case in point, you've got a Joel Latibeaudiere, a very dependable squad option. Never really lets you down when called upon. Do you see him staying in Premier League? No, probably not. But there's a lot of Championship clubs that could benefit with his services. Liam Kitching, for example, if we choose to move on Liam Kitching, Cov could actually make a fair bit of money out of Liam Kitching because his market value is very high at the moment. He's not long signed a long-term contract. Whether he'd go back to the Championship or if he'd go try his luck abroad, I don't know. But there's definitely, in terms of players being moved on, we still have assets. So it's not like we're moving players on for little money. We could still make a fair bit of money based on people who we might move on. So Liam Kitching, for example, I think you could get 8 figures for Kitching if we were to move him on right now. And
also, he's just signed a contract, hasn't he, Kitching? So do you think that might be signed a contract with a view of for us making some money if we sell him? Do you think? Potentially,
yes. I'm sure he would want to have a crack at the Premier League. Whether he will get that crack or not, I'm not so sure. I think we'll see him in pre-season, just because you never know. You still need to get him sharp and ready, and because at the end of the day, signings do take time. So at the start of the season, we might see him, just because things do take time, and not everything is done before the start of the season. It never is, and that's not the same with Cobb. It's the same with every club. That's why you have a deadline day at the end of the month, not at the start of the month. But that's okay. He'll have a point to prove, whether that is at Coventry or if that's somewhere else. I think it's a big season for Kitching, whether that is at Coventry, which admittedly I think might be unlikely, or if that's at another club where he's going to be determined to just prove that he can still be successful.
And I guess the same could be applied to Wolfie as well, couldn't it?
Yeah. Wolfenden is... I think in terms of dressing room experience and know-how, he definitely brought that with him. But in terms of minutes and impact, it was fairly minimal. It wasn't as much as we would have been expecting with someone with his pedigree, which is disappointing. But at the same time, it's a credit to Bobby Thomas, a credit to Kitching, a credit to Latty, who did step up and perform where Wolfie just struggled to get going. But to Wolfie's credit, he never complained. He never threw his toys out of the pram. He still plugged away, was a help behind the scenes. And I still think there is a good centre-half there. Just maybe it wasn't the right fit between him and Coventry. And that happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens on that one. Okay, I got some comments from our audience. I think a lot of these comments are pretty much sort of speculation comments, really. Got one here from your average Cov fan. He says that former Aston Villa CEO Keith Winers is speaking on Football's Insider's Inside Tracks podcast about Fikayo Tomori joining Coventry. Obviously, he's playing at AC Milan, but what do you think of that one? Do you think that's believable, or do you think that could be codswallop?
I think it's believable because he has a year left in his contract to AC Milan, and I believe AC Milan do want to cash in. And from what I understand, according to reports, it only seems to be at the moment Coventry have registered a legitimate interest. But at the same time, maybe Tomori's agent is maybe holding out for more established top flight teams to maybe put an offer in, which is understandable because joining a promoted side is always there's always going to be an element of risk. But I think that's just something you keep your eye on. I wouldn't use Football Insider as you reference, so that's not the most reliable source in the world. But in terms of Fikayo Tomori, it's definitely plausible, but I do think it's just a case of patience. And at the same time, we have been linked with about 100 different centre halves, so we'll just have to wait and see. We've got one through the door, so who knows? We might get another through the door soon. It's a game of patience, I think.
Yeah. Right. According to Sky Blue, Sam Anthony Massar has been offered to hold Coventry and Ipswich by his agent. Fenerbahce has also been offered. Fenerbahce Wigan has also been offered to 2 unnamed Championship clubs. Again, I think that's. I'm not sure that's pie in the sky, that one, but we'll see what happens. Who knows? Lots of rumours flying about. Patrick Berg is another name I can see that's been linked as well. Patrick Berg, Norway squad midfielder. He'd be great for us, wouldn't he? If we were to get him.
I really, really like the look of that one. If I recall correctly, he's a defensive midfielder, but he's also got a lot of end product in terms of goals and assists. He's been very, very, very productive for Bodo Glimt, both domestically and in Europe. He's been an integral part to Norway's World Cup campaign, which to me wasn't really a great surprise. I think for some time Norway had been. I think for the last 2 years Norway had been threatening to progress. It just wasn't quite happening, but it was knocking on the door, and then they demolished Italy twice in qualification. They had that hammering from France, but admittedly Norway did play a weakened side just so they could prepare for the knockout stages. They were back to the best. They got to they saw off Senegal, then they beat Brazil, in my opinion, very, very comfortably.
Yeah.
And then another day they beat England. And that is a knock, and in my opinion, that's not a knock on England. I don't think England were bad by any means. I just think Norway are a top team now, and Norway. I'm not sure they're quite at the elite level like your Spains, your Argentinas, and your Englands and your Frances, but they are very close now. And another day they win that game, and they were, in my opinion, very unlucky not to win that. It was just Jude Bellingham. He's a big game player. He scored those important goals, and just those moments of the difference. But that's what Norway will learn with tournament experience. They've not been in a tournament since 2000, and to make the quarterfinals is a magnificent effort. They just need to make tournaments regularly now, which they're more than good enough to do, and who knows, they might have future success. But yeah, as for Berg, lots and lots of football in the past few years. In the last 3 seasons, he's played over 45 games, both domestically and in Europe. He played 14 games in the Conference League in the 23-24 season. In the 24-25 season, he played 15 Europa League games. He played 14 Champions League games. He's also been productive in Europe as well. So he's played big games. He's been an integral part. He's been an integral part of Bodo Glimt's success, both domestically and abroad. He had a brief stint at Lons where it didn't really work out, so he went straight back to Bodo Glimt, but he picked up where he left off, and maybe he's looking to have another crack at one of the world's top leagues, and maybe those lessons in France will make him better prepared for it now than he was maybe a few years ago.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how that happens. I guess the other news that, well, we don't know obviously what's been going on, but it's been speculation on Carl Rushworth, obviously, who we've been heavily linked with. And it looks like he may be heading to Newcastle. I mean, suppose we don't sign him, he gets signed by Newcastle. How would you feel about that? And who would we look at to sign potentially if Rushworth doesn't sign for us?
You've got plenty of options there, I think. Obviously, we want Rushworth, and I'm still going to be the deluded optimist and still say we get our man. But if we don't get our man, there are plenty of alternatives. There's no need to panic. You've got ironically enough, you've got Nick Pope. He's experienced in the Premier League. He's not going to be the number one, hence they're looking for number ones. I believe James Trafford is Newcastle's first choice. I think Rushworth was the backup option. Nick Pope experience with Burnley, with Newcastle. He's been a big part into Newcastle's Champions League qualifications, a League Cup success. You've got Stefan Ortega, who I think gets really overlooked because he did really well at Bielefeld in Germany before he signed for Manchester City on a free. Didn't really displace Ederson, which isn't particularly a surprise. Ederson was and still is a top goalkeeper, but very handy, very dependable. He's a free agent, available on a free transfer. I don't think many people would complain too much if you got Stefan Ortega on a free. There was a report on BBC that if Rushworth didn't happen, Coventry were going to look at Philip Jorgensen from Chelsea. I think if we play a low block with little possession, with him having minimal time on the ball, I think he'll be okay. He's not really a goalkeeper that likes to have the ball at his feet. So if we can kind of not have a lot of the ball, if he ends up being the goalkeeper we go for, then that'll be okay. But you got Stefan Ortega, like I say, very, very, very experienced. Only 33 as well, and available on a free. So I don't think Stefan Ortega would be a bad alternative whatsoever. And like I say, he has experience in the Premier League. He's played Champions League matches. He's played in the Bundesliga. And in my opinion, despite him being a number two for the past few years, he's not a number two for me. He is still a number one goalkeeper. He was just playing at number two because he spent a few years at an elite level football club.
I think just going back to Russia, I think there comes a point. I think 30. Let's say Brighton want, for speculation, is £30 million. Let's say. I mean, I think that's just too much money. As good a player, he was by far our best goal player last season. He deservedly won all the awards. But £30 million, that seems a lot of money, doesn't it?
That's the beauty of English tax, I guess. I think if he had a Sweden flag or a Denmark flag under his name, he wouldn't be getting. Those prices wouldn't be getting shouted around. I think English players, if they do well, have always been at a premium. I don't think that's really changed over the years. Even when standard transfers were seven figures, it was still higher seven figures for upcoming English goalkeepers or midfielders or whatever. So it's just a case of what we're comfortable spending. I believe 30 million is the high ball offer. I think 20 mil was our low ball offer. I'm not giving up hope, but at the same time, if we decide to move on, there are plenty of very good options out there. So just don't panic.
Let's wait and see. I think for me, two positions I think we desperately need. I'd say a left back to give competition to Jada Silva, and probably a quality striker as well. What sort of players do you think we could be looking at that could sort of fill those positions?
Oh, you put me on the spot here. I'm struggling to think of players on the spot, but I do think left back in particular is a position we need to not just give competition to Silva. I think we need to upgrade, to be brutally honest. Yeah, I like Jada Silva. I'm happy to have him around as a squad option, but we're going to need a new left back. In my opinion, I don't know who. I'm probably going to need an entire podcast episode to think of new targets, to be honest, because it's not really something I've particularly thought about, just because I've been so focused on the Rushworth situation. And in terms of strikers, it's the same. But at the same time, he's a striker, but he's like a striker hybrid because he also plays out wide. Daizen Maeda at Celtic. Yeah. He can play out wide on the left. He can play as a striker. For me, he is a world-class presser of the ball. He is so quick. He is so he's like a rat that will always be at your ankles. He will not leave you alone with his speed and his power. And I think with Jamie Allen, you need not Jamie Allen, but he's like Jamie Allen in terms of how he never leaves people alone. Yeah. But just obviously more attacking. But Daizen Maeda, he has a year left at Celtic. He has expressed publicly that he wants to play in the Premier League. And I think Celtic will end up cashing in this summer. And I literally think he's right there for us to take. And I'll be very disappointed if we don't, because I think Daizen Maeda will end up being a fantastic signing for Coventry. He's been at Celtic for many years. He's won everything there is to win domestically in Scotland. And I think he is ready to make that move south of the border and at top flight level. And I think Daizen Maeda, I think he's 28, 29, but I personally don't care about the age. If anything, I think that'll be helpful because he's also had experience in the Europa League, in the Champions League. He's played big games at Champions League level and at World Cup level. He even scored in the World Cup. where I think Japan were unlucky to lose against Brazil. I think another day they beat Brazil and then maybe they beat Norway. So he's starting regularly for a top upcoming nation. He is Celtic star man, and I think now is the time for him to come to the Premier League. And I literally think Coventry is the perfect club for him.
Well, let's see what happens. Fingers crossed that. And anyone watching this wants to make any comments on players they'd like to see sign for us, obviously feel free to leave some comments as well. Looking kind of not so much sort of all the fringe players or the players that haven't really made the first team squad. Isaac Moore's joined Walsall a season long loan midfielder. What's your thoughts on that move? That's a good move, isn't it? Very
good move. I'm very excited to see how that transpires. He did very well in the National League last season. He was at Forest Green, but then Robbie Savage naively put a lot of appearance clause in a lot of loans, and because there was like an influx of loans coming and going, in the end it affected Isaac Moore's game time, despite Isaac Moore literally doing nothing wrong. So he just had to leave to go to Solihull, and he did very well in a struggling Solihull side. Whereas Isaac Moore was a very good player in a then decent Forest Green team. He was kind of the man at Solihull Moors. He was the star midfielder who'd start every week. He was controlling things. And now he's going to get his chance at League Two. Walsall, last 2 seasons, made the playoff final. They started last season quite well before a pretty big drop-off, which led to the sacking of their manager. But they're looking to go again. They're looking to push to maybe get over the line and play League One football next season. And I think it is a wonderful platform for Isaac Moore to progress. And for those who don't know, over the years, Walsall, no matter what league they've been in, they've always been good at producing young players. They've not always had the chance to produce them at senior level because they would always get poached by bigger academies and bigger clubs. But in terms of developing players, Walsall have always been very good at that. So I'm very happy to see how he gets on at the Saddlers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, wish him well. Hope he does well for them there. Obviously, we have played a pre-season friendly in Portugal. Lost, I think, 3-2 to Wimbledon. Did you catch any of the highlights? Did you see any of the footage?
I couldn't find any footage, but I did see that in the first half 11 that Callum Perry started in the first half 11.
Yeah.
Which I think is important because I do think he will get a League One loan next season, potentially out of Stockport, because all we know because if Stockport sell Ethan Pye, they've been signing Rochdale standouts, so maybe they bring Perry along to that alongside Gordon and Watmouth. And maybe they bring Perry along to that project at Stockport. And if not, Wimbledon. They're in League One. We played Wimbledon. They're already getting a taste. Kai Andrews. Batwani also played, who's very impressive left back. And then in the second half, I believe Elliot Bejetterman played. And in the second half was where Coventry got those 2 goals from Milan Van Ewijk and Norman Bissett. So, results-wise, I'm not going to read much into it. It's pre-season. It's just getting minutes under your belt, and not to mention there are a lot of players missing due to recovering from the World Cup. And obviously, Rodoni's not long had his operation, so he might not have just been ready for that particular friendly. Maybe we'll just see him later.
Yeah, I'll imagine that will definitely be the case. I mean, Northampton's coming up pretty soon. I think it's this weekend. I mean, do you think it will be very much a sort of 2 different teams, maybe a few first teamers featuring that one?
I think we'll still see a lot of changes in the first half, but I think we'll see a fair few maybe get an hour rather than 45 minutes just to build the minutes up. You'd imagine that Brandon Thomas and Sante and Haji Wright will be back in the fold after their time off of the World Cup, because obviously they're missing for that reason. Whether we see Amenda or not, I'm not so sure we will.
Yeah.
Just because he obviously just come back from the World Cup, he's just signed, so maybe we won't see him this particular friendly. And obviously there's still friendlies to be announced, which I'm sure will get announced over time. And there'll be other friendlies where he'll get his minutes and get sharper and get fitter. But Loum Tchaouna, if that's his surname, I'm so sorry if I butchered it. I think we'll see him. I think we'll get him involved just to get him some minutes under his belt and. Just keep progressing that momentum. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to get again some minutes in the legs, as the old saying goes. But I mean, we've still got just over a month until the first game of the season, so there's still plenty of time really to sort of get some more fixtures in and get some more minutes to the legs for the players. So, yeah, really. I'm excited about the season. I think the Arsenal game. I mean, we'll just quickly talk about that very quickly. I know we'll talk about it in more detail in a future show, but I guess if you're going to play Arsenal, you want to play them now, wouldn't you? Really, with players out for the World Cup. If I'm looking from a positive angle.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you've got Spain in the World Cup final, you've got France and England in the third place playoff. You've got a lot of their key players who come from France, come from England, come from Spain, who have made the latter stages of the tournament, and they're going to need that extra rest, and they'll have a later pre-season, so they might not be fully up to speed. And the case in point, Declan Rice, he's been playing in the World Cup with a knock all tournament. He's had to have his minutes managed, so whether he'd still be in a fit shape or not, I don't know. But he'd been playing in the World Cup with a knock, so I think that'll be factored in. And maybe when you're a side like Coventry and you don't have a lot of players who are playing for elite nations in the last stages of major tournaments, that can be an advantage. Which if it was in the middle of the season, yeah, you're at a big disadvantage. It's the league champions, but I think given the weird circumstances of World Cup football, and not to mention that these clubs will be going on these lucrative pre-season tours, which I think are absolutely unnecessary, but it makes them a lot of money. They'll be traveling even more. Traveling even more miles, which is going to put even more strain on their bodies.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just sound crack on, because
like
if we have a chance of beating you at your patch, which is very slim by the way, but if there's going to be any chance, go and do those things, because every little advantage you can give us, we will take.
Exactly. Yeah. I think the only game we've got that's been announced is Espanyol at home. I think that's sort of around the week before the start of the season, I think, or maybe, I don't know. I know it's around
2
August.
weeks.
So 2 weeks, yeah. I know it's quite close. So I'm sure there'll be more fixtures announced. I guess it'll be a miss not to talk about yesterday football. Obviously, it's a neutral, Cameron. What was your take on that game?
It's a good game. Very physical. Players just kicking lumps out of each other. I couldn't ask for a better game, really, in that regards. I think hindsight's a wonderful thing, because I think if England defended for like over half an hour and then won 1-0, I don't think we have this discussion. But I do question why. Like, I understand when you go 1-0 up, you have to defend because the team's going to be determined to get that goal back. But you still need an outlet, and there wasn't really that outlet. You were just applying pressure, and then eventually that pressure showed with Enzo Fernandez scoring an absolute brilliant goal. Maybe it could have been closed down quicker, but at the same time, I think sometimes you just have to appreciate a finish of that quality. And then obviously, Lautaro Martinez, who comes on the bench, gets the winning goal. But I did say before the game, it'll be a Bellingham or a Messi who have a big say on the outcome. And well, Messi did, because it was him who set up the 2 goals. And what a tournament he has had, because he's 39 years old and he's rolled back the years. Yeah,
he's sensational. I think for me, the greatest player I've ever seen. I mean, people talk about Maradona, and I was very young when Maradona was around, but in my adult years, I don't think I've seen a better player than Messi. He's absolutely brilliant. I just feel, for me as an England fan, a missed opportunity last night. We played really well. We got the goal. We got our nose in front. But Thomas Tuchel, for me, was very, very negative substitutions. In my opinion, he's played right into Argentina's hands, and we've allowed them back in the game, and obviously they've gone on to win, and they deserve to win because they were knocking on the door. It was constant wave and wave after attack. We had no outlet. I would even have considered maybe of subbing Kane and getting Watkins on, a bit of fresh legs. I know it's easy in hindsight because you could factor the penalty shootouts and that, but we just wasn't holding the ball up. There was no outlet. It just felt all too predictable, didn't it, for me? I mean, that's how I saw it as an England fan.
The weird thing about that really is Harry Kane is excellent at holding the ball up. Get him as that outlet. Get Bellingham and Rodgers running on counter-attacks, and they didn't do that. And I get it, Argentina was still going to dominate possession and put crosses into the box, but you still need an outlet, and you still need to try and counter. But there just wasn't really that much of an effort to counter, and maybe that's just what bit you in the end. I personally wouldn't be calling for Tuchel's head. I don't think that's warranted. He got it wrong. but I wouldn't be calling for his head because it's his first tournament, and I think Euro 2028, I think he deserves a chance to make amends. And Euro 2028, who knows? Harry Kane will be a little bit older, but if he's still scoring the goals, he's still going to be a weapon for England. So who knows? But I wouldn't call for Tuchel's head from him if I was looking at an England point of view. He got it wrong, but I don't think it's enough to sack the guy. I think he's got a lot more right than he has wrong this tournament, because you look at that England squad before a ball was even kicked. There was so many questions. There was so much negativity that was around, and you made the last four. Okay, I think the England squad was good enough to win it with the right tactics, but he gets one game wrong in many games that he got right. So I personally think just give him another chance, give him Euro 2028 to make it right.
Yeah, I think if we had lost maybe to, I don't know, a Congo side, something like that, you could there's probably more of an argument for sacking him. I thought looking at the game we did win, I thought Mexico was a brilliant win, great performance, backs to wall stuff, but we managed to win. Arguably, obviously, they're not as good as Argentina, which is not difficult to say. Norway game, we maybe got a bit lucky, but we just about go over the line and won that game. So I think semi-finals is okay. I think it's a decent achievement. You know, we achieved that in I think it's the 2018 World Cup in Russia. And I think before that, I think it was 1990 in Italian 90. So it's not.
And I know it's not much of a consolation, but you have France on Saturday. If you can go and beat France, I know it's not the World Cup, but it's still a World Cup medal. And literally only the 1966 England side can say they have a World Cup medal. Yes, it's not gold, it's only bronze, but it's still a World Cup medal, and it's still an achievement. And while it's not what you wanted, I think you can still look fondly and okay, we beat France, and okay, we didn't win it, but we've got medals in 3 of our last 4 major tournaments, and just what we need to do next is just go back one step further.
I think the biggest frustration for me is they've got 2 players on yellow cards at the back, and we haven't really done anything to try and exploit that. For me, it was just we're too. I mean, and I blame the manager for that. There's so many defensive substitutions. We're trying to sit on the lead. I think it's fine if you're sitting on the lead if we've got that first goal in the 85th minute and you've got something to hold on to for 5 minutes. But you're looking at the best part of 30 odd minutes plus added on time. That's an awful long time to when you're playing against a side as good as Argentina. I just felt we should have kept playing the way we were playing. We were playing really well up until then, but as soon as we score, we had deeper and deeper. We just invited trouble. So I think there's a lot of frustration. I think the mood of England fans is there's frustration, annoyance, because I think this squad was capable of more. We haven't delivered it, and that's the biggest disappointment for me. I think we're all gutted. Or I know you're not, as it's Scott Cameron, but speaking for myself, I'm gutted. It's been a good tournament. I'm not saying we've been bad. I think probably when Tuchel first got the job, his premise was to deliver success. He hasn't done that in terms of a trophy, but semi-finals okay. But then when you compare it to, say, Gareth Southgate, he's got 2 finals. He had a lot of criticism, and I think it just goes to show what a good job he did, Southgate.
I think a lot of the criticism Southgate got was really harsh. I really do, because I don't really like doing this, but I think you have to remember what England side Southgate inherited. They had a lot of bad tournaments where they underachieved, and there's a lot of negativity. You have that tournament in Russia, you make a semi-final, you make the final of the 2020 Euros, you make the quarterfinals of the World Cup, where maybe another day you beat France, you were a better team on the night, but just didn't get the rub of the green. Euro 2024 final, he had a lot of success and just didn't quite happen. But Southgate laid down the foundations, and I still think Tuchel is the next level for England. But at the same time, I think you all do need to appreciate that it is so hard to win a major tournament. It is so hard. I think it's even harder to win than a Champions League or a Premier League or your top 4. It is that difficult.
Yeah.
Because okay, it's frustrating you're not winning it, but Spain are going to have those frustrations. France are going to have those frustrations, and Argentina, but they don't sack the manager at the first sign of trouble. It's not easy. It's very difficult. You have other elite nations.
I think Thomas Tuchel is an elite manager, and I don't think we should sack him. That's just my personal view. He got it wrong, and it's disappointing. But semi-final was still a good achievement. Obviously, it's not really what we want as what I want as an England fan, but it's still a good achievement. I think if we were knocked out, maybe last 16, maybe you could argue, is he the right man? But I don't think you can really question him overall, apart from obviously last night, which obviously some fans think he should go, but I just think, he got it wrong. But I think it's a bit of an overreaction. That's just my view.
I think a lot of the comments are very knee jerk. He got it wrong, but every manager gets it wrong. So sometimes I remember the 2009-2011 Champions League finals, Man United, Barcelona. In 2009, I just think Barcelona were unbeatable. I don't think it mattered what Ferguson would have done. Barcelona were just much better on the day. But then in 2011, although Barcelona won comfortably, I think they were there for the taking for Man United. And I think Ferguson years later admitted that his mistake was not using Ji-sung Park. And that was maybe what led to Barcelona winning that particular Champions League final. So it's just maybe those moments where even the best of all time gets it wrong, and Tuchel got it wrong, but at the same time, just give him a chance because it's his first tournament. I think he deserves another.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. Okay, well, I think is there anything else you want to bring up on this tonight's show?
I think we've covered everything, to be honest.
Cameron. Well, it's great having you on. Thank you everyone for your comments. Thanks for listening. We'll publish. We'll let you know, shall I say, when the new show's out. So stay tuned for that. Just a date for the diary. It's the Arsenal game, which I believe is on the 20th of August.
21st.
21st of August.
On
yes, you're right. Yes, the game's 21st, but the actual show is on the 20th of August.
That's the one. That is right.
So we've got a good guest coming on representing Arsenal. We'll announce that nearer the time. So stay tuned for that. That's the date for the diary. Thanks for coming on, Cameron. Thanks everyone for listening. Just to round off who our sponsors are and where you can contact them. Our sponsor is, our show is sponsored by Plan with Neil, Coventry's financial advisor, www.planwithneil.com. Phone number is 02475 264 392. And we're also sponsored by Corrigan Bentley, teamed up with the Sports Social Podcast Network. Please like and subscribe to us. And also you can find us on our social media channels at All Things Sky Blue on X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll keep you up to speed when our next show is. Have a good evening, everyone, and good night.